I think the best argument for cutting rates is coming from this idea that real interest rates are elevated. And the theory is that if real interest rates are elevated, then policy is restrictive. So here you got on the screen the real 10-year US Treasury bond yield versus the 10-year yield. The real bond yield is in blue. You can see the easing we had here when the 10-year was at record lows around the 1.5% level. So this is the argument. Is this a legitimate basis? This is even puts it even more sharply, actually. This is the real federal funds rate. So looking at the shorter end of the curve, you can see here that it's around 2.8, 2.9%. Historically, this has preceded weakness in the business cycle, right? You can see it peaked here. I want to say that's around '06, and it also peaked sometime before the dot-com, although this period of elevated real Fed funds rates maintained during this period of heightened productivity.
I think there is the idea of real rates being a useful indication of the tightness of money is it's certainly a consideration. And certainly if you had 10% interest rates and inflation was 10% versus 10% interest rates when inflation was 2, those are two very different things. I think the problem with it is it's too gross of a measure in terms of trying to assess the tightness of monetary conditions relative to the economy in any way that's useful. And so I think the challenge is, how do you understand how tight monetary policy is relative to conditions? The way you do that is by looking at how conditions are transpiring in this current interest rate environment. And if you just look back the last 2 years, we basically have interest rates at the same level. Real GDP has been running around 2 to 3% that entire time. Most employment measures have been at or above what the underlying labor force growth is, particularly prime age workforce. You see labor force participation or prime age working as a share of the prime age population at all-time highs. You don't see the sorts of things that would indicate that current interest rates are very tight.